All right, so we are going to read the Season 7 patch notes. Usually they do it on the day of, so it's interesting to see it a day earlier. Halloween Terror 2023. Get ready for the spookiest event of the year as Overwatch 2 transforms into a haunted battleground. Halloween Terror is back with your favorite game modes, Junkenstein's Revenge, Wrath of the Bride, and Trials of Sanctuary. A new Blizzard crossover game mode. Team up with the heroes of Sanctuary, power up their abilities, and defeat powerful bosses, including Butcher Roadhog, Asmode and Wrecking Ball, and Lilith Moira. Now, I do want to say, Chant, Wrath of the Bride, which was introduced at the beginning of Overwatch 2, was so fun last year. So I'll probably play it again this year because I just enjoyed it. Maybe go for like the rank 1 again. Had some cool mechanics. Obviously, Junkenstein's Revenge is a classic, and obviously Trials of Sanctuary is the new thing they're doing, so we'll be trying that out tomorrow too. So, new map, Samoa. Samoa is a new control map where you'll fight on a tropical beach, a gleaming city, and inside a volcano. Watch out for deadly pitfalls, or you might just be swimming in lava. Samoa will be available to play right away in a dedicated arcade card, and will appear in quick play and other unranked modes starting on October 10th, with it appearing in competitive play later in the season. For people saying, "Oh, why is it in comp right away?" It's good it's not in comp right away. I think last time it was also 2 weeks with Antarctic Peninsula. It's good to learn the map first. It really is. I mean, I still think you'll be learning the map in ranked, but if you have even a general idea of what doorway to go out of, it's a good start. Hero rework Sombra. This is the rework for Sombra one that we've gone over, but I will go through this again so people can be refreshed on this during like the video and all that. So, we approach the Sombra rework by identifying key goals to guide decisions throughout the design iteration process, make Sombra more committal when engaging, increase the active feel in her ability kit, and uphold the current hacker fantasy. With these goals, there were multiple angles to tackle around her existing kit. Naturally, many ideas were also meant to address frustrations playing against the character, ensuring there is proper counterplay for enemies. So, damage increased to 8. We talked about that the other day. Minimum spread reduced from 0.5 to 0. I'll explain that in 1 second. And number of shots until max spread is increased from 3 to 6 shots. So what this means is basically you're going to have like a laser up until 6 shots, and then after that, you start to get more of that spread, right? So that's what that means. Obviously, this is a buff to the pistol. They're overall, reason why they're doing that is because the passive that exists where you get increased damage on your own hack does not work anymore, so it just helps with like your overall damage. And then the reload time reduced from 1.4 to 1.2. Hack, cast time reduced from 0.75 to 0.65. Now cancels stealth when hacking an enemy hero. Cooldown increased from 4 to 6 seconds. Hack has a reduced cooldown of 3 seconds if hack is interrupted or if a non-hero enemy is hacked. The hacked warning text will now appear while you were silenced and not for the remainder, which is good because a lot of people thought they were hacked the whole time and wouldn't use abilities. But overall, looking at this, like, we talked about it the other day with Sombra, I think, like, hack will still be hack, and you're going to be like, oh, wow, they got me, but it definitely has a little bit more of a, you're going to commit, they're going to have to commit to the hack to get the full value, which is good. Opportunist removed, that was their previous one. Now they have stealth, which is the new passive, which stealth was an ability, but is now a passive. Stealth ability rework to be a passive. Sombra automatically becomes invisible after 3.5 seconds while not shooting, using a damage ability or receiving damage. If you play support, you kind of understand how the passive works. You have the support passive, which after 2 seconds you get healed from not taking damage or doing all that. This is very similar to that. So you go back into stealth. Stealth movement speed bonus reduced from 60 to 45%. I talked about this the other day. Basically, with you not being 180 meters out of team fights, I think their vision is that you'll be fine with 45% speed. They can obviously increase that if it doesn't feel fun. Fade out duration into stealth reduced from 0.375 to 0.25, and fade in duration from stealth reduced from 0.5 to 0.375. To give you an idea, it's going to be a lot quicker with your like animations into stealth and out of stealth. And they just updated that with like the health packs. Virus, we talked about this the other day too. This is a new ability assigned by ability 1 by default. Fire projectile that damages enemy over time. Damage is dealt faster on hacked enemies. Impact damage is 10, 20 on a hack target, and then the damage over time is 100 over 4 seconds or 100 over 2 seconds on a hack target. So you can do a lot of burst damage, especially if you hack the target first. Translocator can no longer be manually activated. Translocator will now automatically teleport Sombra after 0.25 seconds from being thrown or when impacting the environment. So you can throw it against a wall, etc. Reduces the stealth passive cooldown after teleport, which is good. Projectile speed increased from 25 to 72. It goes faster. Cooldown reduced from 6 to 5 seconds. Cooldown now begins after Sombra teleports to the location of the transponder. And projectile launch initial vertical offset removed. So all that stuff was added. Silence, thanks for the features prompt, so thank you, appreciate it. EMP cost increased by 15%, makes sense. More damage right now. So they learned from the Junker Queen, where Junker Queen had like Junker Queen out 3 times the fight. They're recognizing there's going to be more consistently increased damage on Sombra by just increasing the 7.5 to 8 as well as the spread reduction. So they do that to compensate, and then obviously they nerf it to 30%. So if EMP does still happen frequently, it's only going to be 30% HP when used. So there we go. That is the first step. That is the Sombra rework. We talked a little bit about. What is this one? General updates, group respawn. Wait, what is this? Heroes who die within 5 seconds of each other will respawn together, resulting in some players having either a slightly longer or shorter queue than the standard 10 seconds. Heroes who die more than 5 seconds from another player eliminated will still respawn in 10 seconds on their own. These changes do not apply to comp. Oh, I see. So what they're doing here is they're just trying to make it so that if people stagger out, you can spawn up a little bit quicker. And if not, it will go to like the 10 seconds. I get what they're doing here. I get what they're doing here. I think this will probably be pretty good in quick play. And they said the changes do not apply to comp mode. Maybe there's a chance eventually it would be, but what they can do now is they can kind of test it out a little bit and see how people like it and get overall feedback. Oh, wait. I should probably read the dev notes, huh? All right, let's read the dev notes. We think that team fights are some of the most enjoyable moments in our game, but we've all been in matches where team cohesion, or lack thereof, makes these moments a rarity. These matches often turn into stomps for a team that can't group up, and preventing stomps is a high priority for us. What I love about this exactly is the group respawn update here is basically saying, hey, you know what we're going to do? We want to make it so you just stop feeding and group up with your team. So we're going to make it a little bit easier to respawn with each other. As such, this season, we're modifying how heroes respawn for quick play. Heroes that die within 5 seconds of each other will be respawned in a wave together. So basically, if let's say that a good example of this, you're Genji, you get sniped by Widow, 3 seconds later, your Mercy gets one shot trying to res you, now you'll respawn within 5 seconds of each other. So if someone's respawning, you will now join that spawn wave. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like a wave, right? Like it's just kind of like a, yeah. This means that respawn times will sometimes change in order for heroes to respawn together. If a hero dies further apart than 5 seconds from another death on their team, they'll still respawn in 10 seconds as they would have in the past. So, basically the idea is that more than likely you won't have like this staggered respawn of people running back over and over again. Yeah, the exact same time. What I mean by that, Cactus Puppy, is like a spawn wave, right? That's what it says. They'll respawn in the wave. So if Genji dies and then 3 seconds later they get you, you'll now respawn 2 seconds later, right? If I'm understanding that correctly, because you'll be on the spawn timer of the first person who got picked off. So there's actually some strategy there. Yeah. So that kind of makes sense. Yeah, it gets people to group up easier, exactly. We'll be listening closely to feedback on this new system, and dependent on the response and making any changes, we will consider adding these adjustments to comp play in a later season. I like this, by the way. I think adding, this is I'm not sure this is the first time we've seen this in Overwatch 2 yet, but I love the idea that they're going, okay, listen, we want to make a change here. We don't want to make it an overall change to comp, because we know that comp obviously is, it's comp, right? So we're gonna add it to quick play. We're gonna get feedback on this. If people do end up liking this, we can then bring it to comp and also have good data to be able to say, hey, this is what we want to do. So I like that they're actually doing that. And honestly, on paper, for most ranks, I say this for most ranks, this does sound like it could be good for comp. And what I mean by that is, obviously in top 500, we get a little bit more, we kind of pay attention to regrouping a little bit more. So what this is doing is this is making it so that it just kind of force regroups your team especially if there's that stagger. Now, obviously, staggering can still happen because if your teammate dies within 6 seconds of that, it's on a 10-second timer, right? So you're still in that a similar situation, but this will help a little bit. This helps a little bit. So, Sherry, thanks for the 16 months of tier 1. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. So it's definitely a cool concept. It's definitely a cool concept, and I want to see how it plays out. I want to like see like just by playing quick play and see how it goes. Unranked lever penalties. 75% XP penalty removed. Oh, is that the one where like is that like if you DC too much, you get like a battle pass like nerf? Or like XP nerf? The penalty thresholds have not changed, but the mechanics have also never been completely explained. The last 20 games played, a player participated in are recorded. Leaving 4 of these 20 games activates the first penalty threshold. Leaving 6 of these 20 games activates the second penalty threshold. Queuing for most game modes is now suspended when a player leaves a match inside a penalty threshold. Players that reach the first penalty threshold will be suspended for 10 minutes, which will that be if you leave 4 games within 20. Players that reach the second penalty threshold will be suspended for 30 minutes. So if you leave 6 games out of 20, you'll get a 30-minute suspension. The queue suspension will reapply each time a player leaves a game when they are above the first penalty threshold, but not when they complete their games. Consecutive match XP bonus has been renamed to Endurance Bonus, and Endurance Bonus is XP granted when finishing matches without leaving the previous match. So, it sounds like what they're doing now is just saying, hey, listen, some people don't care about the 75% Battle Pass nerf, so now they're just going to suspend you for 30 minutes if you decide to leave too many quick play games. So what they're doing is they're trying to prevent levers from happening more consistently, and people staying into the games longer. Because the idea, obviously when someone has to backfill into a game and there's a minute left, it could be kind of like a frustrating experience. So we'll see. Developer comments, previously if players left too many games, we would apply a 75% penalty to their Battle Pass XP that is gained. We found this had very little impact on those who leave deliberately, and severely impacted those who don't have much time to play, but want to earn the rewards in our Season Battle Pass. We're changing this to make it more difficult for players who leave games to be disruptive, while not applying too much impact to those who don't intend on ruining the experience for others. Essentially, they just don't want people to leave games. And if somebody does leave a game, eventually, if they leave too many games, they'll be suspended for 30 minutes, which means that in that time, those players won't be able to play games and leave games. See what I'm saying? So it makes sense as to why that's to what they're doing. So, I mean, these are both, in my opinion, good changes to see. I actually do like the group respawn concept, and I'm really curious to learn more and see more how that goes. And I think a lot of people will like this too. It's just basically saying that most people who left games didn't care about the 75% XP penalty, but they might care more about not being able to play for 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how much they leave. You know what I'm saying? Story missions. You can now spectate any story mission that your friends are playing if you own the campaign pack for that mission. I mean, that's cool. I mean, being able to watch your friends play the PvE if you're just chilling is fine. I mean, it's a good quality of life change. Hero Mastery. Scored update. Bonus score granted from time remaining in the gold bonus tier is now accurate to 1/100th of a second. Previously completed games in top 500 leaderboards are not adjusted. I love this change. I'm really glad to see this, by the way, because this was almost immediate feedback that people said they wanted to see. People were like, listen, we want it to be like, it comes down to the exact second. Like, you need to, if you can set a perfect time, it's going to be exciting. And they did that. They said, you know what? You're right. And within a season, they've updated it twice to make it a much more competitive, fun thing to do if you want to play Hero Mastery. I like it. Speedrun and stuff can be really fun. It's cool that they have that now with Hero Mastery. The user interface has been updated to display this new time accuracy everywhere that we display time and score. So I like that change. For people who play Hero Mastery and all that, that's good. Replays. Hero Mastery now supports replays. I like that. See, now you have replay codes of people having their best timers. I like that. Replays are saved for any completed course that results in a new score and record. The user interface for Hero Mastery replays has been customized to display score, time, and other information. So, good to see that. Player progression. Lowered show priority for time played and win sub badges in the showcase. Added virus kills a Sombra sub badge. Developer comments, all heroes share the time played and win sub badges. This change is intended to highlight each hero's unique sub badges to better reflect individual playstyle. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what that means at that point. So, all right, challenges. Reduced the number of wins required to unlock Sojourn, Jungle Queen, and Kiriko through hero challenges. Ayari is now unlockable. I mean, that's good, though, through hero challenges. I like that. I think reducing the number of wins is good, and especially with those heroes being, I mean, almost a year ago for some of those heroes, or actually a year ago. I mean, that's good. It gives players a little bit more opportunity. All right, we got nerfs. Ooh, Orisa. All right, let's see. Let's see how many nerfs they got here. Let's go. Tank, Orisa. Fortify, damage reduction decreased from 50% to 45%. We are further readjusting Orisa's survivability, which was originally increased due to the armor damage reduction to stack and change we made several patches ago. This particular change is relatively light, as we still want her to be an effective pick against teams that lean on crowd control. Okay, so I think Orisa will still be strong, right? Because I read that, it says this particular change is relatively light, as we still want her to be an effective pick against teams that lean on crowd control. So yeah, I feel like Orisa's still going to be very much a good pick. Because even 5% damage reduction, like, the thing is that I guess, you know what? I guess it depends on a few things. Because if there's like, say there's like major support changes at the same time. Because right now, the reason why damage reduction is so good for Orisa is because most tanks are getting one shot or taking a lot of damage, right? You're taking like a lot of damage, right? So it's even if you fortify with 45% damage, yes, like on paper you're going to take 5% more damage, but then you also are going to like still be healed back up to full during that. So like there's different stuff on that one. There's different stuff on that one. So we'll see. We'll see. I still think Orisa will be a good pick. I see that. I mean, no, that's just like his toys. I don't know. I feel like Orisa will still be good. I see that, and I think Orisa will still be good. That's how I see it. Straight up. All right. Ramatra. Nemesis form cooldown decreased from 8 to 7 seconds. This change lets Ramatra project his influence more frequently with Nemesis form, which translates into increased survivability and damage. The flexibility also makes it less punishing if he swaps back to Omnic form early to use the Void Barrier. I mean, this is a good buff, right? Like, this is a good buff, I'd say. Here's my concern. All right, here's my concern with Ramatra now, though. It already felt like it was a frustrating experience going up against a Ramatra if they managed their cooldowns correctly with Nemesis form. I have a feeling that Ramatra in some rank games and some ranks is going to be frustrating to play against now because they're going to be in Nemesis form quite frequently, considering the cooldown time in between each one. And I think that becomes a part of the problem. But I think this will make Ramatra a little bit better. Wrecking Ball. Are we ready, chat? Quad cannons. Number of shots to reach max speed or max spread increase from 20 to 30. That's good. That's to be able to follow up on ellipse. This change lets Wrecking Ball finish off enemies a bit more reliably when he's outside of point-blank range and makes him less reliant on his pile driver combos. Yep. That's a good change. I mean, if I'm going to be honest with you, I still feel like that Wrecking Ball might struggle with, like, CC still a little bit, but I mean, it makes it so you can play a little bit further away. I can still see Wrecking Ball struggling against a lot of comps because of how much, like, CC and escape supports have now, especially. It's like, you can pile drive and play aggressive, but at the same time, when you do that, it might not lead to, I don't know, it's, like, this will make Wrecking Ball better, don't get me wrong, but I also think that Wrecking Ball has an issue against support now, which we'll see what the support changes are, too. Obviously, like, support has been, like, a huge discussion, too. With all the balance, so we'll see when we get to support also. Zarya, projected barrier, size decreased 15% now, matching back to the size of the particle barrier. Health decreased from 225 to 200, matching back to the health of the particle barrier. I'm going to talk about this in a second. Developer comments. Zarya is using the barrier on her allies more often to peel or initiate combination plays, which makes the ability more team-oriented and less self-serving. This change preserves that interest and choice by keeping the cooldown reduced when used on an ally while targeting her energy sustain instead, which has increased significantly with the bonus of the barrier health and size. Okay, so here's my change in this one. Here's my take on this change right here with Zarya. All right? I think you go back to the more selfish playstyle on this one, in my opinion. Because if you have a teammate you're communicating with, then you'll bubble them. And you'll be able to take advantage of that low HP one. Or like the low cooldown one. But overall, that's on the assumption that your teammates will work with you when you do that. So the reason why you go with the more selfish playstyle of Zarya during this is because of that. So we'll see. All right, damage. Cassidy. Combat roll damage reduction increased from 50 to 75%. I don't know. I'm kind of fine with that. For now, I'm going to explain why. Hear me out. Hear me out on this one. Hear me out on this one. And I'll explain why I'm okay with this right now. Let me explain why. All right? One of the issues they've had with Cassidy is they constantly just adjust the range and the HP. Back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth, right? It ends up in the same result. Too strong, too weak. When you start to see them make other changes to the hero, it means they're starting to go, okay, we're not just going to go, hey, here's an extra 25 HP. We're removing your 25 HP. Here's range, right? I think the range, of course, could definitely benefit from something like that, especially with a lot of heroes having increased range now. I can be a struggle against some supports, etc. Like, I like that they're trying something new. Now, I guarantee I will 100% at some point complain about the 75% damage reduction when I go to get an elim on Cassidy and he randomly rolls away to reload and I don't get the elim. That will happen, but I want to give this change a chance because it's better to see they're making different adjustments to Cassidy rather than the same repeat changes. Kind of what they did with Soldier 76 recently, right? Made Soldier 76 more viable, and I think that was a good change overall. So I'm happy with that one. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying I'm going to like playing against the change specifically, but I like that they're making those different type of changes. You know what I'm saying? He might even be tankier at times during that roll than tanks. Okay, most damage mitigation from combat roll feels incidental, as the ability is used more for mobility or reloading. This adjustment allows Cassidy to be more intentional with his rolls to avoid large amounts of damage with correct timing. Yeah, we'll see if that timing happens. All right, so I've talked about this with Mei before too. They're getting rid of Deep Chill. I hopefully it doesn't go back to the 100 DPS, but we'll see. All right, Deep Chill removed, so they're getting rid of the slow. Endothermic Blaster, damage per second now increased from 70 to 100. So, I'm a tank here. I am a tank here. All right? Now, before they made the change to Mei, I struggled against the Meis that were playing 100 DPS because the only person that Mei is going to go for is a tank. And it still slows you to 40%. Exactly. Now immediately slows enemies by 40% instead of building up over time. So I would not doubt it if you start to see tanks getting slowed again because that's the only one they're going to go for. They're going to go for tanks. Now, I'll give you a slight positive to that as a tank. You play like Diva, maybe Doom, like Wrecking Ball, it's a slight buff. It's a slight buff? For those heroes? Because, like, before, like, the Deep Chill would make it really impossible for you to kind of get away. So now you at least have that. Right? But, yeah, the 100 DPS is a lot of damage. And most of the time, it's only going to be on tanks. So if you're a tank and you're going up against a Mei, and they're holding left click on you, it will do a lot of damage. This is a revert, yes. And what I haven't mentioned about the Mei change specifically is that right before they made the change that they did with Deep Chill, tanks started to experience, and Mei players started to realize that you just go hold left click against a tank and tanks get shredded. People started to realize that a little bit before that change happened. They made the change, and then Mei is going to be good against tanks. So tanks will struggle a little bit against that. Obviously, I'll give it time to see. Maybe it's a bit of like a... Maybe it wasn't as bad as I remember it with like the Mei doing 100 DPS, but if I recall, it was like season 4 or something like that. And Mei was just... People started to figure out, go Mei, hold left click. All right. Developer comment. We liked the 1-2 combo that Deep Chill provided. I actually did like it. It was a fun concept, as it added an interesting layer for hero mastery. However, in practice, it increased the amount of crowd control suffered by enemy players, while also reducing Mei's effectiveness. Rather than further increasing the slow or increasing the cumulative combo damage, both of which would lead to a more frustrating experience for the opposing player. Depends what role. We are reverting Mei back to her balance prior to adding the Deep Chill passive. So exactly, this is basically what Mei was before when that was happening. Just to give you an idea. All right? So there you go. Torb. Here we go. Rivet Gun. Primary fire recovery increased from 0.48 to 0.51. I don't mind that. The left click felt a little bit too fast. Overload, over health bonus decreased from 100 to 75. I don't mind that. Torb will still be good. Torb just becomes a little bit less tanky. I'm okay with that. Yeah, Torb was strong. Torb's Rivet Gun can feel overwhelming with how quickly it shoots. This change reduces the firing cadence and makes it more manageable on the receiving end. Overload provides too much defensive value, so we are lowering the overhealth bonus, which is good. So, all right, on to supports now. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about supports, about how people have been asking for a little bit of a support nerf, whether that's either the damage or the healing. So we'll see what kind of changes they go with this season and all that. And it looks like we're going to start with Brig. All right, what nerfs do we have? Whip shot damage increased from 70 to 80. This change increases her proficiency at protecting her allies by rewarding accuracy with her most aim-focused ability. I thought Brig was pretty good right now. I mean, maybe... Here's what I can... This is my guess. A lot of people playing Brig are not playing the style that you see in like top 500 of just sitting next to an Ana, right? And just spamming your health packs and keeping your other support alive. A lot of Brigs are playing aggressive, so the win rate might be a bit lower than what you would expect if a Brig's playing well, and especially with more damage increase. So Brig, because of all the other supports having like increased damage, etc., has probably not won as many games in a lot of ranks, so they're just increasing the damage increase to help with that, so that if Brig plays aggressive, because a lot of the time... So, like, I'm surprised as a Brig buff, I will be honest with you. I did not expect to see a Brig buff. I expected, like I said, one thing I expected to see was a bit more damage nerfs on some heroes. Like, Ayari and Bap have a lot of increased damage right now, so I expect to see things like that. But I'm surprised to see a damage increase for Brig. Although, from a bias point of view, whenever I do play support, I do enjoy playing Brig. So, but I thought Brig was already pretty good, exactly. I thought Brig was in a good spot. You know what I'm saying? Ayari. Solar Rifle secondary fire healing per second decreased from 120 to 105. Ayari's burst healing output is still a little too high, so we are lowering the effectiveness of the Solar Rifle secondary fire to bring her more in line with other support heroes. I don't mind that change. I think that's okay. I'm going to be honestly, I'm surprised there wasn't more changes. I'm surprised. That was... I will say, with this balance patch, the one thing that surprises me is there isn't a lot of support adjustments. And there wasn't a lot of, like... I don't know, it's interesting. Yeah, I think Orisa will still be good. I don't know if it will... It's interesting because I don't know how much will shift with, like, ranked metas. I'm trying to think of, like... You're going to see more Ramatra. I think you'll see more Ramatra. But I think Orisa will still be... good. I don't know, maybe it shifts the meta a little bit in ranked, right? I don't know. This is tough. This is tough to predict. I'll see how the meta is for the first week or two. I'm trying to figure out, like, the Orisa nerf is, I mean, it's 5% damage nerf. That's fine. Ramatra is going to be better. Wrecking Ball will be a little bit better, and I think Wrecking Ball. Actually, honestly, chat. A surprise hero that might do a little bit better now is because you can't go Mei as much. And then, like, with the new Sombra rework, I think Ball might be, like, better this season. Zarya gets nerfed and just kind of goes back to how Zarya was before. Cassidy will still be pretty much as what Cassidy was. It just got to time your roll. Mei might be stronger in general against tanks. Torb. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. All right. Looks like they just added a bunch of hero-specific options, Chad. We don't have to go through all of them, but look, it's cool. They added a bunch of, like, in addition to the hero balance adjustments in the update, we're implementing additional quality of life settings and additional input options for several heroes' abilities to give you the ability to custom tailor your experience of playing your favorite heroes, which is good. So if you want to look through here, you can see all the different heroes that got hero-specific options. It looked like most heroes got, like, different options added there, which is really cool. It seems like they're doing that with a lot of heroes, which it goes all the way down the list there. All right, map updates. Route 66 design changes. There are now additional places for the attacking team to take cover around their initial spawn. The doors on the first checkpoint will now only close one of the two doors after the payload passes by giving attackers more options to work through the difficult choke points. There will also be fewer places to take cover in the later parts of the map. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to see how it looks in-game, but yeah, it's cool. And obviously they added different lighting. Obviously we have a Midtown night now, a Route 66 overcast, and then Samoa obviously will be morning. And then, yeah. And then we got some bug fixes. Fixed a bug where some players are unable to capture plays of the game using the in-game capture system. Hey, this is perfect for my play of the game videos. Let's go. Fix an issue with the random option for victory poses and highlight intros not saving. Fix the bug that can result in a support hero losing the ability to see allied health bars. Fix an issue with the camera breaking during play of the games. All right. And then we have a bunch of map stuff, just fixing like clipping and places you get stuck. Some story mission stuff. See if there's any major bug fixes to heroes. Yeah, there you go. There's your patch notes. I will say, I'm surprised there wasn't a bit more of a balance shift because I don't know if that will shift the balance. I don't know if that will fully shift the balance. Did they updated the map notes? Did they? What do they do? Yeah, I maybe they're like, maybe what's happening is like, and just to give you an idea, Chad, when I read those patch notes, I don't read that as like, I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. I don't read that as like they're not going to like make changes to supports. As they probably just want to figure out what they want to do for those support changes. And I feel like that's what it is. I think that's what it now is. It feels like they just don't know what they want to do yet specifically with those changes. So rather than just put up some random changes, they want to give it a little bit more time, which I think is fine for that. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just not going to be like, okay, should we just go nerf a bunch of random numbers? It's like, no, it takes them a little extra second on that one, so. Yep. All right, well, there's your patch notes, chat.